Good evening. My name is Ross Schramko and I'm a principal fisheries biologist with New Jersey Fish and Wildlife. I'm here today to talk to you about the 2024 Spring Trout Stocking Program and allocations. For many of you who have come to the annual Spring Trout Forum before, this presentation will be kind of a review of the trout program, along with some new information for 2024 like the allocation changes that we have for this year and which water bodies were selected for the Bonus Broodstock Program. If this is your first time attending a Spring Trout Forum, this presentation will also give a quick background on the current state of the trout program, how the trout allocations are determined, and where one can find general information on the trout program, such as where and when your favorite water body is stocked. This spring, a total of 175 water bodies will be stocked with rainbow trout from the Peak West Trout Hatchery. This is the same number of water bodies stocked last year and similar to the number of water bodies we have had in our program for several years now. A total of 90 streams and rivers spread out across the state will give anglers who enjoy fishing flowing water opportunities to test their angling skills in reading currents, finding trout feeding lies, and present their lures, flies, or bait with seamless drag-free drifts in an attempt to coerce some of the state's biggest rainbow trout. We will also be stocking 85 lakes and ponds spread out across the state from Sussex County to Cape May County. Some of the larger trout stock lakes and ponds will allow for anglers with boats to test their skills at filling their live wells with big, beautiful rainbow trout, while some of the smaller lakes and ponds will create opportunities for a parent to teach their children the joys of trout fishing and being in the outdoors without having to struggle with fast-moving currents and tighter casting lines. Not to say that small ponds are only for novice anglers, as many of the state's small ponds have the highest catch rates amongst experienced anglers. So for those who want to increase the likelihood of catching their limit in a short amount of time, or just enjoy more action, these small ponds might be just the opportunity you were looking for. The spring trout baseline is once again 570,000 fish, but as you've seen in Hatchery Superintendent Ed Connolly's earlier presentation, Ed and his staff routinely produce numbers greater than this baseline, and with a little luck and a lot of hard work, this year will be no different. Our trout stocking program would not be possible if it were not for the collaborative efforts of all the individuals listed here, from the freshwater fisheries biologists to the conservation officers that enforce the freshwater fishing regulations and help with posting the regulation signage and interacting with anglers on a daily basis, to the stocking crews primarily made up by Fish and Wildlife's Lands Management Bureau personnel, to the Fish and Game Council, who aids in proposals and adoption of new trout stocking regulations in special fishing areas such as a catch and release area, our year-round trout, and seasonal trout conservation areas. And finally, you, the public, who through meetings like the Trout Forum and our other freshwater fishing forums, and through participation in our many different surveys, help shape the program and propose many of the current regulations we have today. This program is put on for you, the public, so your input, thoughts, and feelings are extremely valuable to us. 2024 will have the typical 7 weeks of in-season stocking period, which is preceded by 3 weeks of stocking during a preseason stocking period, which many of the trout stock waters are closed to fishing and begins March 18th and extends through April 5th. Opening day is April 6th, beginning at 8 a.m. Next, I'd like to present to you a quick summary on how trout are allocated to the water bodies in our program. The trout stocking methodology uses physical, biological, and social factors for both streams and rivers and lakes and ponds, but in some cases these factors differ between the two groups. Physical factors for streams and rivers are mainly the size of the stream and the length of the stocking influence. So the bigger the river with the larger length of stocking influence or stocking locations, the more fish a water body will receive. The same is true for lakes and ponds. The larger the lake, measured in acres, the more fish it will be allocated. The biological factors are similar for both categories. If the water body remains cool enough through the summer months for trout to survive, it is considered a year-round trout fishing water body and will receive a few more fish than a water body that doesn't remain cool enough through the summer months for trout to survive, it is then identified as a seasonal trout fishery and doesn't receive this additional boost of trout. Finally, the social factors. Social factors for streams and rivers include the percentage of land ownership throughout the stocking influenced area. Is the land public or private? The more public land, typically the better access, the more fish a water body is allocated. Other social factors for streams and rivers include parking and angler interest in the water body. The more people and better access, the more fish that it is allocated. For lakes and ponds, the social factors include population density of the municipalities closest to the lake. Again, the more people, the more fish. Angler access is also considered for lakes and ponds. Does the lake allow boating? Is there a public boat ramp? How open is the shoreline? And finally, are there other water bodies and their proximity to each other? If there isn't many other trout fishing opportunities nearby, then we allocate a few more trout to the water body to give anglers who live in parts of the state with less fishing opportunities a little boost to their trout fishing experience. All of these aforementioned trout stocking factors are found within the Trout Allocation Program. Here's a screenshot of the opening page of the current allocation program. The allocation program is critical in determining how many fish each water body receives, what weeks a water body is stocked, and how the stocking crews should stock each water body. Next, I would like to talk to you about any changes and updates that we have for the 2024 trout season. Mill Pond in Bergen County will once again not be a part of this year's trout program. Mill Pond was suspended a few years ago because of sedimentation that has been building up over time and was dramatically increased from several severe storm events. Mill Pond is officially suspended again this year, and a likely proposal to drop the water body from the program will occur during the next fish code cycle unless the pond can be dredged and conditions improved. The next fish code cycle begins in 2026. Cohansey River in Cumberland County is down to only one trout stocking point on the river. Unfortunately, one of the final two stocking locations was lost, reducing the stocking influence from 1 mile to now just a half mile. This decrease in mileage results in a deduction of 450 fish for the Cohansey River for the 2024 spring trout stocking season. Next, I want to talk to you about the 2024 Bonus Broodstock water bodies. As a way to increase interest and excitement in the trout stocking program, Fish and Wildlife stocks higher numbers of broodstock in a few, 9 to 10, trout stock small ponds and lakes each year. Broodstock included in the program are 3-year-old rainbow trout weighing 3 to 7 pounds each and measuring 18 to 24 inches on average. These fish are called broodstock or breeders because they are mature fish, 3.5 years old, that were used the previous fall to obtain and fertilize eggs as part of the hatchery's continuous production cycle. Each spring, a different set of waters receives about 3 to 5 times more broodstock than they would traditionally receive. By concentrating 400 of these large trout in 10 relatively small lakes and ponds, it is expected that angler participation and satisfaction will increase as anglers have a greater chance to catch these trout themselves or observe others catching them. The bonus broodstock trout are stocked prior to opening day of the trout season and will be waiting for a few lucky anglers to catch a fish of their lifetime. The 2024 bonus broodstock water bodies are Crystal Lake, Grenlock Lake, Lake Papiani, Max Pond, Manny's Pond, Mount Hope Pond, South Vineland Park Pond, Stony Lake, West Hudson County Park Pond, and White's Pond. Finally, I'd like to talk to you about where you can find information on the 2024 trout stocking program, such as the trout fishing regulations, bonus broodstock program, and the trout allocations, along with other general fishing information. The best place to go for this information is Fish and Wildlife's website at njfishandwildlife.com and navigate to the spring trout sections. There you will find the latest trout information and updates or changes to the program. You will also find a few suggestions of fishing access locations on many of our trout stock water bodies, along with driving directions to these locations. These locations are both by county or alphabetical to aid in you finding a place to fish for trout and to help you explore the many trout fishing opportunities provided to you statewide. If you are more comfortable using the telephone over the internet, you could also call the trout stocking hotline to get a computerized listing of the trout stocking schedule. Please note that the phone number changed last year. Also consider subscribing to Fish and Wildlife's email list and follow Fish and Wildlife on social media. You may also consider downloading the Fish and Wildlife app to your phone to find information on the trout stocking program as well. These are all great ways to stay informed on what is happening with trout stocking and other topics happening within freshwater fisheries. If that wasn't enough, you could also scan the QR code found on our trout stocking signs posted on trees and telephone poles around the state with your smartphone to access the trout stocking schedule to see how many fish are stocked each week, along with what day of the week each water body is stocked. This concludes the presentation on the trout stocking allocations. Good luck to everyone out there and tight lines.